Another company that's been tied to controversy is Rooster Teeth. Back in October of last year, many people have shared accounts where they have suffered workplace abuse and has dealt with a lot of like hateful slurs in the workplace as well. And it's turned into a huge snowball where everyone is now criticizing Rooster Teeth for what they did to them. And even one of these people who has an idea for Nomad of Nowhere, who apparently they tried to get the show off the ground, but it did not happen, and couldn't get the rights back to it, which means he has to get used to the fact he lost the franchise of Nomad of Nowhere. And now Rooster Teeth at the moment is running the podcast network, and the biggest show of Rooster Teeth animation is RWBY Volume 9, which is now coming out on Crunchyroll, which just released last Saturday. But the controversy still stands, and it's affecting people's enjoyment of the whole franchises by Rooster Teeth. Especially with Genlock has been involved in a lot of controversy many years ago, which many people don't seem to realise that. So, I know it's a bit worded there, but the question I have for you, PotatoChief, is what is your honest opinion on the future of Rooster Teeth and their show, RWBY?
Okay. Honestly, we seem to go through this every week. I don't care about RWBY or have any interest in RWBY whatsoever. It sounds like it's going down in flames. I mean, that sounds about right. I used to like Rooster Teeth a lot, and then you had the stuff with Ryan Haywood, and that was horrible. And then you had the stuff with Matt Bragg, and that's horrible. And then you had the stuff with Adam Kovic, and that's horrible. And then, like, Bernie Burns left, and they sold it, and I don't know. I used to really like Rooster Teeth, and I've really not watched Rooster Teeth in a while now. I've kind of really got off it. I'll still watch the occasional thing. Like, I was watching... I can't remember his surname now, but Michael Mogar playing Metroid Prime.
Michael Jones.
Michael Jones, yeah. I was thinking Tuggy, but that's his wife's old surname. Anyway.
Lindsay Jones.
Lindsay and Michael, yeah. So I'll sometimes watch their stuff on like Let's Play and stuff, but I haven't really watched much Rooster Teeth in years. I used to really like Rooster Teeth back in the day, but then there's so many controversies that it's like, yeah, it kind of put me off watching them, really. Like, I used to like all the stuff that Ryan Haywood used to find him really funny, and now he's gone, and because of for a good reason, because he's a controversial person. And then, and there's a lot of people on there that have gone. A lot of people have left, and it's changed a lot, and I'm not really interested in RWBY whatsoever. As I said multiple times on this show, I've not really watched RWBY since season 3. And I wasn't super into it when I did watch it the first time. I feel like it's not my cup of tea. It feels like it wants to be a Japanese anime, but it's not a Japanese anime. It's American, and it's not got the charm of a Japanese anime. In my personal opinion, I'm not super into it. It's like, I used to watch Naruto and stuff back in the day, but I haven't really watched much anime since years. So and RWBY's like, nah, not interested really. So
sounds as if you're not really into.
Yes. To answer your question, I don't really care. It's probably going to be gone. From what you've told me, because you seem to be keeping me up to date, it sounds like it's going to be going off. Like, people seem to have lost interest in it. So yeah, once you lost the fans, that's it really. You're not going to get them back. So yeah, it seems like they've lost the fan base that are interested in it. So I think it's going to not last too much longer, personally.
Sorry, I don't really mean to interrupt you, because I know it's supposed to be your views and Jerry Springer, final say on this thing. But for me, I don't really have a lot of hopes for the future for both of them, because, two things. RWBY is already getting noticed by fans, and people are fucking over it. and like watching it, even though they're a bit disappointed about the the Crunchyroll exclusivity, but it's pretty much good for some. But I think depending on the success of RWBY Volume 9 and the Justice League crossover, like you've seen the trailer for it, is where like Superman and Batman work with RWBY heroes. I mean, that's something quite interesting, isn't it?
Not really.
Well, but it really depends on like how this one and Volume 9 have performed, and it just really determines if RWBY is going to get a Volume 10 or not. But I'm not that enthusiastic about it. I used to follow it a lot, but I just think there's too much controversy that kind of brings up the negatives of the show, so I just don't really think it's going to like last forever. It's a bit of a shame, really.
No.
But as for the Rooster Teeth, I like to see them as a skeleton crew where they used to be huge, but the workplace that they have a lot of controversies in order to get high up in the ranks. And now it's just like they cut down a lot of animation projects. They didn't do a lot of the fun stuff anymore. And they got a lot of controversial people on board, which means it kind of gets shimmered down to just a podcast network. And I feel it's what they're going to be remembered as, really.
I also forgot to mention that it's not been the same since Monty's passing as well. I forgot to mention that as well because he was a huge part of the RWBY and stuff, and ever since he passed, it's not been the same. That's also important to mention.
Yeah, I think I would like to address this because I think fans are assuming this if people are getting it wrong whenever they bring up about Monty's passing and affecting the whole thing. Two things that Monty has been working with Carey and Miles from the very get-go, so Carey and Miles are still continuing the show after his passing. It was actually Shane's letter that talks about his views and how the ideas have been changed based on Rooster Teeth. And I feel this one is what led to the divide between the fans and the fan base, which leads to haters and the fans, and it turns into a more heated argument. And yet there are still people who are outside the fandom still believes in a lot of like mistruths that they still believe in unless they have to talk to the fans who are actually correct on all those things. Like, no, don't say the Monty's name is as if you know him by wishes, because that's disrespectful. And it is still disrespectful if you said about Monty Oum in his wish by best wish. I don't know, because he's got really good friends who still support him, and Rooster Teeth, they still care about the franchise and they are determined to keep going with it. And also with like Carey and Miles, I know there's some like a lot of bad stuff to said about them, but they've been through this process and even been working with Monty since the show began. And I think there's a lot of criticisms that ends up making this a lot of misinformation, that even the creators have been trying so much to convince people that what they said is not true. And yet some of this misinformation is even brought over to the people outside the fandom as well. So this is just like gone really out of hand. And I just feel that the divide between the fans and everyone else, it just seems like a bit of a theme. So to be honest, like, I really respect RWBY for running the show, and I'm glad they're doing everything to support Monty, even his passing. Even though they're just distancing away from the creators, they work on the later volumes, like Game of Thrones. But a lot of the arguments, some of them are ridiculous, are not good. But I think the trouble is that the show hasn't been very hasn't been very consistent in how they deal with the direction, and I feel as if they overscoped when it comes to it. So, sorry, I've been talking for about almost 2 hours, but the truth is that I still recommend people to watch the show if they haven't, and check out the first one, see what they think. But the show isn't that huge, and unlike what fans are saying, it's still like a niche, and it's not known by everyone. And it's not even gone to the top of the most popular lists on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I mean, you know a lot more about it than I do, to be perfectly honest. So I'll let you stick with that one. So yeah, I mean, we've been going for nearly 2 hours now. Maybe we should start trying to wrap up, if that's all right. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's been a bit of a controversial episode. Not really. We talked about some controversial stuff, but I think we hopefully we're quite level headed about it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Are you interested in playing Atomic Heart or Hogwarts Legacy? Are you boycotting either of those games? Is there anything you are boycotting, like products or games or anything? Let us know. Really fascinated to see. Are you a big fan of RWBY? Because I'm not really, but if you are, let us know in the comments below. And I'm sure Alice would love to hear from you.
I'm not that
I think that's
100% interested in it.
But yeah, that's it for this week. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you've listened to the whole like hour and a half, 2 hours, we really appreciate it. And please subscribe if you haven't. And thank you guys for watching. And until next time, too sweet.
And well, actually, you didn't ask me what I say about it, so I'd like to also state that I know we made an episode about 3 for 3, and we made some outlandish points. So just in case if anyone like goes to the comments and say about those kind of things, that we should put the disclaimer in the description that we'll be talking about a lot of controversies, and that includes transphobia. So just don't try to be too offended when you hear those points, because we're trying to understand as much as we can about it. So if there are points that we got wrong, or where we said some stuff that didn't work out, then please do not hesitate to let us know in the comments. Be polite and be nice about it. And if you like point out if there's anything wrong we said, then we will do our best to learn about it, because we're not always experts on this. Just like for the Metro Prime video, like we're not always going to have a huge book of the things that is well researched. Like we're not doing the thesis.
True.
All we're doing is just like subjective opinions over all of this, which means we don't have to be fully objective about it. But if you want to like correct us on any objective stuff we said, then please let us know in the comments, and just please be respectful to us too, because the last thing we want is having a huge argument over what we saying and said all those things, because all I want people is to understand and how is important to keep the people's well-being, and we do not really want to have a huge fight on our hands because at the end of the day it's just like we don't really want to be attacked because we speak up about those kind of things. We're doing this so that we can get everyone to understand, and we're not trying to go against other people's opinions about it. We're just like stating what is supposed to be the truth, or what we're supposed to how we feel, and it's something that we're not meant to be challenged on it. So I think that's about it.
For sure. So pretty much everything you just said. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As I said, we don't claim to know everything, but we try to be as knowledgeable as we can be when it comes to stuff like this. But obviously, if we've missed anything, let us know in the comments below. That's really important. We'd love to hear from you guys. I'll probably end up wrapping up the video now because my dog's decided to wake up, so she's probably going to knock the microphone out again if we don't. We better hurry. Thank you guys for watching. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's what I just basically said, so...
Alright, well, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, too sweet.
Bye!
Guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at X Marks Box on Twitter or X Marks the Box on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.